good can Lauri Markanen and Zach LaVine be for the Chicago Bulls? I discuss what is going on, y'all. 5 Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA. And here to talk about a topic I brought up a few days ago where I was talking about the Bulls core and, that I potentially see them getting to a certain level of even championship contention, even though right now it seems so far-fetched. But the biggest thing that needs to happen is there needs to be a jump, a breakout year from the Bulls' two biggest studs, and that is Zach LaVine and Lauri Markanen. So I'm here to talk about just how good I believe these two guys can be for the Chicago Bulls. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and subscribe by hitting the button down below and turning on my post notifications by hitting the bell icon down below. Also follow me on my social media. I tweet a lot, so you don't want to not follow me on that. Go ahead and follow me on my Twitter. Links down below and on the screen, and my Instagram as well. So with that being said, you guys know the topic. I'm here to talk about Lauri. I'm here to talk about Zach. These guys are the building blocks of our team, our franchise players. Let's talk about how good they can be. Again, why am I talking about just these two? The reason is for the Bulls to make any sort of leap to championship contention. Okay, again, I'm skipping playoff contention because, again, you can make the playoffs with how they are right now, I believe so, and especially in the Eastern Conference, that's certainly weaker than the West. But if we want to get to that next level, the leap that Philadelphia made, the leap that Milwaukee made, the leap that Toronto made, you need a superstar. And you need guys to develop into superstars. Or you need multiple stars, okay? So, take a look at your team, and it could be for any team, and which guys are those guys, okay? And for me, with this Bulls team, following closely, watching them, it's pretty clear right now. Again, things could change, but right now, from what I've seen from the sample size we've seen the past couple of seasons, it's Lauri Markanen and it's Zach LaVine. And remember last year, they were the first duo since Michael and Scotty to score 35-plus points in the same game. Okay, I believe Zach had like 40-plus and Lauri had like 35. Okay, 35 and 12, Zach like 42, 44, something like crazy like that. And you saw the potential. Now, again, will they ever beat Michael and Scotty? No, of course not. Let's not get ridiculous here. But it just goes to show you the potential, right? So now that we know the potential is there, let's talk about exactly how much potential, okay? Just how good these guys can be. And I'll start with Lauri Markanen first. So Lauri last year, let's quickly go through his numbers. Averaged about 18.7 points and about 9 rebounds. So very good numbers and an improvement from his rookie year. But he only played about 52 games. So again, he missed a good chunk of the season. You don't never like to see that. But still, when he was there, Lauri was dominating. And in February, boy, did he show you what he could do. At his absolute peak, he averaged a monstrous 26 points and 12 rebounds a game in February. He was just a double-double machine. And you saw a little preview of Lauri and what he could be in his prime. Because, again, he's only 22 years old, folks. He's not in his prime yet. He is not there. And when you see his prime, you saw a preview of what it could look like. So, to me, I'm going to break this down into 3 tiers, okay, for Lauri's potential. You've got the all-time ceiling, you've got the realistic ceiling, and you've got the floor, okay? So all-time is, of course, best-case scenario. Realistic is obviously a realistic scenario, a middle ground, if you will. And then floor is the absolute worst. So who do I see Lauri turning into? And let's take a look at the comparison. So the all-time ceiling is the guy he gets compared to a lot, and that is none other than Dirk Nowitzki. The realistic ceiling, a very good player, but again, not the best player on the championship team, Kevin Love. And then the absolute floor is Kristaps Porzingis, and that's not even a bad floor because he's an all-star player. So to me, Lauri's future, regardless, is looking very bright. But for the Bulls to make that leap, I need Lauri to certainly be in that all-time ceiling, closer to that than the floor, right? And here's my thing. I might sound crazy. I'm not saying Lauri's going to be the next Dirk, but I believe he is closer to hitting an all-time ceiling than he is closer to hitting a floor. Reason I say that is because I believe Lauri is perfectly suited for today's game. The game today suits a guy like Lauri so well in a game that favors and puts an emphasis on shooting. And a guy who's a 7-footer like Lauri, where you can't block his shot, he's going to be a scoring machine. He'll get buckets over everybody. And it's perfectly suited and tailored to his game where he won't have to change much. and he can rebound the ball. And again, like I said, 26 and 12. If that's the peak of Lauri, that's his prime. Those are Dirk numbers right there. So to me, it's not that far-fetched at the trajectory that he's going. I believe he's more likely to hit closer to an all-time ceiling than he is to a floor. I believe Lauri Markanen can be very, very good, and I do believe he can reach that level more so than hitting the floor. Now let's move on and talk about Zach LaVine and his ceiling. So last year, Zach LaVine averaged about 23 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. So clear leading scorer for this team. And he took that leap, guys. He took a leap last season to becoming that main scorer for this Bulls team. And we'd love to see that from Zach. Now, of course, we want him to be, not a volume scorer, be as efficient as possible because, again, those guys are not as valued in today's league if you're just a chucker, right? And that's the thing Zach LaVine has to be careful of, is he doesn't get into that category. So to me, with Zach at the rate he's at, it's clear he's already hit that 20-point per game scorer ceiling. And we know that he's going to be this at the worst case scenario for the rest of his career, right? Because he's only just 24 years old. And his prime is going to consist of him putting up buckets. But there's a lot of guys in this league that put up buckets, but can he be a difference maker? And for him to be a difference maker, he's got to be efficient. He's also got to be a little bit more of a two-way player. Unless you're, an outrageous scorer like a James Harden, you usually have to play the other end to get recognized, okay? So to me, for Zach, I do believe that his potential for scoring is through the roof. So where do I see Zach LaVine's all-time ceiling, his realistic ceiling, and his floor? So let's take a look at the comparisons. All-time ceiling, Tracy McGrady, a scoring machine. We all know T-Mac in his prime was an absolute beast, and if Zach LaVine turns into that, then I do believe the Bulls could be looking at some championships. But again, let's be realistic here as well. And you take a look at a guy like a Devin Booker, like CJ McCollum, again, scores in today's league, but again, they're borderline all-stars, nothing fantastic. And then floor, Chris Middleton, again, that also might seem a little high, but Chris Middleton only made the all-star team just because he was, on a Bucks team that made the most, that had the most wins. But he is not a perennial all-star. We're talking about Devin Booker and CJ McCollum. Even though Booker hasn't made an all-star team, I do believe he will become a perennial all-star type, and CJ McCollum as well. So, all-time ceiling, Trace McGrady, that's hard to hit. And I'll be realistic with Zach. I'm not as high on Zach as I am on Lauri. I'm very high on Zach, but not that high. So to me, he falls somewhere between the realistic ceiling and the floor. And to me, if Zach LaVine stays at that CJ McCollum level, then and Lauri takes that leap into that all-time ceiling, I believe he can be a good 1B to Lauri's 1A. And I think that will be good enough for us because we'll have two primary and secondary options to attack and score the ball. Again, for Zach, he needs to also develop other parts of his game. Now, I'm not saying you have to become, Kawhi Leonard or, Paul George, but you do have to develop other assets of your game. Again, 23, 4-4 is not bad at all, but to take that next level, to get into that leap, that's what he's going to have to do. But I see Zach somewhere between realistic ceiling and floor because, again, I do believe he's already going to be a 20-point scorer for the rest of his career. It's just how much better can he get? And I don't know if it's that much better that he's going to get in terms of the other statistics. Scoring can always go up to 26 to 20. I could even see him averaging about 28 points per game. But again, about the other areas of his game, I have questions and concerns around that. So now that we've discussed both Lauri and Zach and their potential, where am I at now in terms of like a final status? And folks, this is where I'm at with you guys, okay? Lauri Markanen, I believe, will be a perennial all-star with a chance to be a superstar. And Zach LaVine, to me, is going to be a borderline all-star. And again, when I say borderline all-star, you guys are going to think, oh, Fies, you only have Zach as a borderline all-star. There's a huge difference between perennial all-star and a borderline all-star. I'm not saying Zach will never make an all-star team. I really do believe he will, but he's not going to make it every year, and that's what a borderline all-star is. You'll get in some years, you won't get it other years, okay? But Lauri's the guy that's got a chance to make the all-star team every year, a chance to be a superstar, a chance to take us to the top. So how does this compare or fare for the Bulls championship contention status. Well, if Lauri ascends to superstardom, then automatically I believe we'll be championship contenders, because there's teams in the league right now that have one guy and kind of, maybe perennial borderline all-stars, or not even, just a bunch of good players around them. Take a look at Denver with Nikola Jokic as the lone superstar with a bunch of good guys around him, but nothing great. Maybe even take a look at a team like Portland with a perennial all-star in Damian Lillard, a superstar in Damian Lillard, but then CJ McCollum is a borderline all-star, and then a bunch of okay pieces. So to me, there is potential there for the Bulls. Now, again, if you want to compare every team to Golden State, nobody would be a championship contender. We can't compare a team that has 4 all-stars. I'm talking about the non-Golden State teams. And I do believe if Lauri becomes a superstar and Zach is a borderline all-star, we have enough to contend. If Lauri stays at a perennial all-star level, just a little notch below that, I don't believe. Obviously, it'll be very tough for the Bulls to contend. At that point, it'll depend on what they surround the team with. But this is what has to happen for the Bulls to contend. Lauri superstar, Zach LaVine, basically a borderline all-star to an all-star. And now you've got the 2 guys, the 1A, 1B, to contend. And then you surround them with the right pieces. So there you have it, folks. Let me know if you guys agree with that or disagree. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, thanks for watching.